All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the son of Mashiach, who some call Yeshua, Yahawashai, Yashiyah. We mostly know as Jesus Christ. Pastor Dowell did a video here, dealing with some of his principal texts, some of his foundational texts, that he lives by. And sorry, y'all, it's custom. And he that he lives by, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this video could help because this is how he lives. And then maybe some of the problems can be when you're trying to, or if you're trying to puff your chest out and well, we're living the book and this is how the book told us to live. That can be problematic. But if you glean some principles from it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, they was doing that, maybe we should do that too. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it is a good look. And I'll give you some other examples of that so that you can better understand it. That's what this is for the body, for us to understand methodology, understanding how to make things harmonize, understand, things in certain dispensations, that we don't glean from that dispensation, or we don't glean that principle from that. Now we could, but we can't and say that that's lawful and that's required of us. And again, I'm gonna give you some examples, but I'm gonna let Pastor Dowell here speak and give his take on some of the issues that he's having with some people that are saying or trying to throw that he's the one just making this stuff up when it's in the text. And I agree, but some things in the text are prescriptive and some things are descriptive. All right, some things are prescribed for us to do, and some things are just a description of what we were doing. Not necessarily that it is a commandment that we do it also. We have to know the difference.
Sanhedrin of old, they are saying Pastor Dowell
Fair
says,
use.
and they're excluding what Jesus says. Give an example. Who made this statement right here? I want you all to answer, if you know what the Bible says. Unless a man forsake all that he has, he cannot be my disciple. Who made that statement?
Who made that statement? And what does that look like? What does it look like to forsake all that I have? And why was he saying this? Who was he talking to? And is it a requirement of us today, or is it something that we can glean from? Or is it a lesson on the cost of discipleship, understanding the sacrifices that got to be made to be a follower of Christ, or to be a servant of Christ, or a servant of Yah? Or is it telling us to forsake everything and be homeless and totally trust on him to provide for us?
Now, I often quote that statement, but that's not what's happening today. The people are getting angry and upset because I continually quote that statement, and they are levying anger and malice and ill will and attacks towards me because I repeat what Jesus says. Does that not sound like some of the same things that the prophets in their day constantly?
And I'm gonna say this: we take that. That's our principle. That's a requirement of us. Forsake everything. Forsake all. We gonna be a disciple. Forsake all. Right? Okay, we take that. We're gonna live by that, but I'm gonna show you why it's problematic, and with the methodology and it not harmonizing with his next statement.
Had the people at odds with them because they constantly kept saying what Yah says, or the apostles constantly kept saying what Jesus says, and people, they're pretty upset at that. They're pretty upset with that. I mean, let's see who said this right here. And all that believe were together, and no man had nothing he called his own. Who said that?
Now, does forsake all, are we forsaking all? I think, that wasn't the statement I was talking about. It's probably the next statement about the Babylon that's not going to mix. But even with this statement, okay, we've forsaken all. Now no man has anything that he calling his own. He's pulling from another section. This is after the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. Christ is not physically walking with him no more. All right, it's in the spirit realm. But they had all things in common. But if they were the disciples, should they have anything? Because they've forsaken all. No one should have anything. And that's why I say, well, what does forsaken all look like? And that can be subjective. Or we glean it from the text. What did Peter have when he said, oh, well, we did, I forsaked everything. We left everything for you. But you see earlier in the text where Christ went into Peter's house and healed Peter's mother-in-law. When she had a fever on him to fulfill this prophecy in Isaiah that he will be healing the sick. Peter had a house and a wife, but when he forsake that, okay, did Peter have a wife anymore? Did he have a house anymore? Did Peter go back to his wife? Did he go back to the house? I know he went back fishing, and this is what I'm saying. Because he said he forsake, he did it. He said, man, listen, when we did it, what do we get? And is that what we're doing? Or do we do that, or do we make up our own thing? Do we do the same forsaking that Peter did? Where he left his wife, left his house, and went on this journey following Christ. They were missionaries.
I want y'all to tell me who said that. Again, because it's being charged that these statements originated with Pastor Dowell. Did they originate with me?
They did not originate with Pastor Dowell. All right, he did not make these things up. These are things that are in the text. But we as teachers, we as leaders, we as, servants of Christ, we as, those, diving into the scriptures, all these, the scriptures are good for reproof, correction. All inspired by God for reproof, correction, and, we have to understand how to navigate the text, though. We have to understand how to navigate the text. And again, I think a lot of this too comes down to and I don't think Pastor Dowell is he's never been part of no One West Israelism or had that in his brain, that precept packet. But jumping from here to there, and you could do that. You could fall into that.
Or am I quoting what the Messiah and the apostle says? Who says this?
And two, what they say, but it's also important about who they say it to. Is he talking to you? Is that when he's speaking, is he speaking to you? Is the person that's speaking talking to you? Is it talking to you in this particular dispensation? When he says, you'll be in Babylon 70 years. And now watch what he's finna say here.
When you're in Babylon, build ye houses, plant you gardens, build you houses, and dwell in them. Who told you that when you're in captivity, when you're in Babylon, to build houses? Pastor Dowell quotes all this, but I'm the one that's being shot at as the originator of these statements.
Now, Pastor Dowell didn't make that statement, but again, who is he talking to? When he said that in Jeremiah, when Jeremiah was speaking, was he talking to you? Was that something for me? Was he talking about me then? And that's what I was talking about. Oh, you gonna be in Babylon. It says, the text says, you gonna be in Babylon 70 years. Is that for me? Or is that for those Israelites that live at that particular moment? That word was spoken for them. They gonna be there 70 years. They need to build houses and be at peace and pray for peace for Babylon. They need to do that. Now, what we can do, though, is we can glean from that principle. We can glean from that and say, you know what? You know, we seen when Jeremiah and them was in Babylon, you know, they were commanded to build. Maybe we should build houses too. Let us build houses. But we can't puff our chests up and say, well, we live in the book. See, other folks ain't living in the book. Now, you can use other things like, you know, to support that the way of life, like you come ye out of her. That's great. That's a good one. I wouldn't say not a word about that, but still, what does that look like? What does come ye out of her looks like? And then it may look different 100 years from now. It may look different 10 years from now. Let's continue.
Stand by these statements. 100% I do, because they come directly from the book. I believe the prophets.
They come from the book. Now I'm going to give y'all another example. Daniel said, I'm only going to eat vegetables and drink water. Adam was told, you know, the herbs are your meat. The herbs are what you eat. All right. Adam, you could say he was a vegan. Daniel, in his captivity to the Babylonians, was a vegan. In his captivity in Babylon, he was a vegan. Do we take that and say, well, we need to be vegans? Daniel was a vegan when he was in Babylon. We need to be vegans too. And this is why you have people like the 7-day Adventists. 7-day Adventists who practice, they teach vegan. I don't think they can force it on people, but a lot of them are vegans. A lot of them are vegetarians, and practice the Daniel's diet. You even have a document like the Gospel of the Holy 12 that goes into you know, that we shouldn't be eating meat, and that the Bible is telling us that from passages like what I was talking about in Daniel and Adam. And then they'll twist up the other stuff because they don't understand dispensations. They just want to pull from what they want to pull. Yeah, I agree. Adam said that, he told Adam, be a vegan. I agree. Daniel said, eat vegetables, drink water. I agree. Noah said you can eat, everything that creepeth upon the ground. You can eat pretty much all the creatures. And I agree that Leviticus given to his people says you can't eat this and you can't eat that. But we can't, all of these don't harmonize. See, so I can't take all of them. So which one am I using for today as an Israelite? Which one am I? Now, if we do the Daniel, nothing's wrong with the Daniel. Nothing's wrong with that. Matter of fact, I believe that's a healthier way of living. Number one killer of the black man is high blood pressure, diabetes. Even me, myself, with the Leviticus dietary law, I've been under 10 years, still had heart failure. Had heart failure the end of last year. Was in the hospital, man. Didn't even know it. Feet done swole up. Like, what's going on? Shortage of breath. Them folks had to rush me to the darn, rush me to the, well, they didn't rush me. They told me, hey, man, I went to the, immediate care, Peachtree immediate care or whatever. And then they were like, well, nah, you need to go to the emergency room. And then I went to the emergency room, ended up in the hospital for 2 days, man. And I have been raw vegan. I've lived that life. I know the benefits. But I can't, even if I'm a vegetarian, I can't puff my chest up and say, well, this is the way we should be living. This is, brothers, this is why you're having this. You're not doing what God commanded you to do. And that's just eat the herbs. You up here eating these animals, brother. You sit here eating it leg. I can't condemn nobody for eating a leg quarter. So this is what I'm talking about, methodology and then instructions in certain dispensations. He was talking to Adam. He said that to Noah and them in their dispensation. Daniel made that decision. That was something that we were reading that Daniel just said. God ain't tell Daniel to do that. That was just something Daniel did on his own. We're reading that, and then we're reading the benefit of that. And again, we can glean from that and be like, you know what? Let's all be vegans. But like I said, we can't condemn nobody if they don't want to do it, or we can't puff our chests up and be like, oh man, y'all jokers ain't, But it's a good principle to glean from.
I believe Jesus. I believe the apostles. You have to listen with a critical ear, because a lot of times when people are upset about something and they really get mad and upset, they love twisting and they love distorting and mixing words. They love that stuff because they get mad at someone, especially someone who believes that book enough to live it, and then you see the manifestation of it. I mean, I have been called everything under the sun. I'm beginning to understand what persecution really means, especially when you're falsely misrepresented, your words are twisted, your intent is twisted.
In persecution, man, they were fed to lions. There was a Nero's circus. You talking about name calling and words. Paul was stoned to death and left for dead. They say Peter was wanted to be crucified upside down. And they were comforting the saints. They were being killed for their beliefs. Not talked about on the internet. But I understand what you're saying. And I have sympathy for the this what comes with it, that's just what comes with it, Pastor Dowell, and I know You know, when you up there, when you the top dog, you know, jokers is gonna shoot at you. That's just, but it's just words. Even these celebrities, anything these celebrities end up doing something, and that's what a lot of people are. A lot of leadership are Bishop Nathaniel, Captain Tazaryak, Chief Priest, Gorilla Hebrew, Priest Hakah, Brother Hassad. They celebrities in Israel. Divine Prospect. Um, and so when they do something, and that's one of the roles. That's why leadership gotta be blameless. You know, because people are gonna say they're gonna attack.
They try to do everything in their power to try to make you out of a liar. They see things through different lenses. The bottom line is, I think what we all need to do is be extremely careful about listening to those people who repeat what other people have said, thereby being false witnesses. And
that was another point I was gonna make, is that he at one point we started off with forsake everything, and then we got another point where you're saying, the last point he was talking about, we need to build houses. Like, that doesn't harmonize. That's almost like being a vegan and then you can eat chicken, fish with scales and fins, and it does not harmonize. You can't forsake everything and have that as a principle, and also have a principle of let's build us some houses. Those don't mesh, in my opinion. But you can't just glean from it. Hey, we gonna build houses, and then the forsaken. What are you saying that we need to, really understand what that looks like? And for me, is really, it could be hyperbole, could be exaggerated speech, but the main principle of it is understanding that it's gonna cost you. That following Christ is going to cost you. And you need to understand the sacrifice. You need to understand what you're going to be giving up. At one point Christ also said, well, foxes have dens and birds have nests to lay their head, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head, or the Son of God has nowhere to lay his head. So how you gonna make that mesh with, and it's in the same dialogue of what it takes to be my disciple. Hey, I will follow you. He had a multitude. A scribe came and said, man, I'll follow you anywhere you want to go. Oh, really? So the Son of Man has no place to go. He has nowhere to lay his head. How you making that harmonize with build houses? And so it's not an issue of what you're doing. For me, I think what you're doing to build houses is a good thing. To live off the land is a good thing. To grow food is a good thing. But it doesn't mix in with some of the other stuff, in my opinion. The forsaking everything. That don't mix in, but it will mix in with, and they had all in common, right? And so everybody's selling everything to get something, to all have something in common. And, and you could just picture it like that, but it ain't like I say, it's just not a thing of boasting in it and saying, well, this is what the Lord is requiring us to do and we're living it. That can be problematic. And when you're doing that and you're saying what it looks like, You have the room. That's why I was talking about that halakha and y'all coming together as an organization and agreeing upon what these things look like and what are the requirements. Those on the outside, even myself, I can't say nothing. The requirement. I can't say nothing for those people because they know the requirement. You got to give up your whole check. I can't say nothing about that because that's the requirement. That's what y'all signed up. You signed up for it. And if you thought you was going to get something, or if you thought that it ain't what you thought, you got to go back and try to negotiate and see. Y'all have to work that out internally. You have to work that out internally. But that was my point, and not even really to deal with what Pastor Dowell is doing over there. Just using him as an example of certain methodologies that we're using, and some of the problems with just grabbing things from here, and trying to mesh it together and trying to force it to fit. And they don't. And you can glean from here, boom, 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 boom. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, I'm going to do that. But you can't be coming around and just telling everybody that they got to be a vegetarian. And that the Bible's telling everybody to live off the grid. But if you're using the come ye out of her, again, what does that look like? But I think that's one of the strongest passages for what y'all are doing. But the other stuff, that's that's between y'all, and I pray y'all work that out, man, and that situation works out. But again, y'all, I just wanted to make sure that we understand this, because I do see this in Israel. Even with certain prophecies, even with my brothers who deal with the 400-year prophecy, that, for me, that was us coming out of Egypt the first time. All right. Now brothers saying, oh, well, no, that wasn't it, because that was 430. Well, he told Abraham his people was going to be in Egypt for 400 years. You want to say it's 430? I know the text say 430, but I feel like that was fulfilled at that point. Brothers do not. Some brothers do not. And they feel like, well, now this is the Egypt that he was talking about. But now it's over 400 years. It's well over 400 years if you really count when they start bringing them ships out here. But let's just say, let's just say you're doing the 1619. It's over 400 years. And so now you got to say, well, the Lord is either the Lord's a liar, or, you were just gleaning from something, but that's not what that's not what he told. That's really, you can only speculate, even it's speculation really, or you spiritualizing, even saying that America is Babylon. Brother saying America is Babylon and America is Egypt. And when you go into the text where it says spiritual Egypt, spiritual Babylon, these two are going to lay down in this place called spiritual Egypt, spiritual Babylon, it's talking about Israel there. The text really doesn't deal with America, unless, again, you're speculating in Ezra that Astaroth is America. But, if you're honest with yourself, that's speculation. That is speculation. That is your belief. You don't have a lot to glean on. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but we just, again, we can't puff ourselves up on it with the information that we have. With the information, unless y'all have something else. Unless you have something else I don't know about, which is possible. But and I'm not mad at somebody calling America Babylon. I'm just saying that it takes a little spiritualizing and a little speculation. You don't have no text that's clearly giving us that America is Babylon. It's just going by, well, whoever in power. And then, if another 3 years from now, China becomes the powerhouse and we're under the control of China, what does that do for all of our understanding? Do we throw the Bible away? Do we, what does that do for your eschatology? What does it do for your eschatological view? But again, I pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed. We'll see y'all on the next one. Shalom.